Your museums show no purpose. They don't have a value to society or culture anymore. And that's why they're closing. And you're mad at me right now because I'm telling the truth. What's up, people? So today I have got an interesting thing about the car world for people. And it's an article on Hemmings, which you guys may have known that was the old-timey print thick magazine where all the cars were for sale. But now they're on the internet, like begrudgingly. Anyway, so they've got some good articles, and this one was 5 predictions for the collector car hobby in 2019, and a few more for the car business. Okay, so does that mean predictions for 2019? Because it's almost over, guys. Or do you mean like next year? But I digress. So this is a fascinating thing that I don't think that the typical baby boomer generation that runs this magazine and plays with those kind of cars gets, but I know exactly what it is. It says, expect to see more museums close and more collections head to auction. And that was like one of 5. I'll tell you about the other ones another time. And they wrote, unfortunately, we were correct again with this one. Hostetler's Hudson Museum in Shipshewana, Indiana, shut its doors permanently in February, and in August, the entire collection was sold off by worldwide auctioneers. Also in August, Dick's Classic Car Garage, and then they go on and show the auction companies and all that. The Automobile Museum in Tupelo, Mississippi, and then it goes on and talks about while larger museums with higher traffic remain safe for now, we're seeing fewer turnovers in displays than in years past, and less promotion of new exhibits. As we advised last year, if you have a local car museum you love, now is the time to donate. All right, well, that prediction's definitely going to be accurate. They're going to start closing left and right and center, and they are closing left, right, and center. But I disagree with the last thing. It says, if you don't want to see it close, make a donation. Don't make a donation. Don't. Oh, Casey, you're a terrible person. You don't like cars and history. Oh, really? I've got a good reason for saying that. Why would you donate to something that's doing a poor job and isn't even sustaining as is? There's something wrong. There's something they're not getting. There's some way that it's not part of the culture anymore. And that needs to be figured out before we all throw money at something that's dying. But the problem is, culturally, somewhat, but more generationally on a cultural level. And how the world has changed so much. But baby boomer and older people don't get it. They don't realize how much the world has changed and how much the way people look at things. And that does not mean, by any stretch of the imagination, that, oh, young people today aren't car people. They don't like cars. They just want to get in their electric cell phone and have it autonomously drive around. Yeah, no, that's not actually it. But it does have to do with mindset. You see, the old car museums, okay, and you see it if you go to typically like a muscle car, 150s or 60s cars, or even pre-war cars, whatever. And I'm talking about the ones that kind of started from a private individual one, that got this going. I'm not necessarily talking of a giant one that relates to a huge manufacturer or some historical thing about a factory. But these museums typically are just a rich guy's collection, largely. Or somebody that was so in love with the cars that they wanted their toy box and they made it so it was open to the public. The problem with that is that doesn't actually do any good for society or other people. In the past, before like the internet and whatnot, these things would do okay because a lot of people that liked cars like that and wanted a little dose of nostalgia would travel somewhere or go check something out and pay some money to walk around and feel good and see these things collecting dust because that's what they do. And they felt good for a minute. But the problem is in the modern world, that doesn't do anything for anybody. If young people want to learn about something, they can simulating drive it on a video game. We can bring it up on our phones. We can watch videos. Magazines are dead. I used to love car magazines, aviation magazines, radio control, you name it. Have a stack. I'd sit and read them for hours. But they are completely dead. Absolutely dead. I get a couple. I actually really like Sport Aviation. I think that's kind of the last really nice magazine, so I'll actually look at that and enjoy getting it. But everything else is dead. Even these old things I like, historic things like vintage racing and whatnot, I don't read them. I'm sorry, guys, I don't. I'm 38. I'm basically your youngest person, and it doesn't matter because I've got it on a cell phone. We've got videos. Nobody changed with the times. Newspapers are dead. Cable television, dead. Everybody's getting rid of that. But you guys don't get it. And it's not just about learning how to promote, where to advertise. No young person, including myself, really cares to or has the time to travel and spend a whole day to walk around in a museum for 6 hours and get sore feet and spend a bunch of money to look at cars that you could drive, or we can go to a Cars and Coffee and see for free and have fun with watching people drive it and enjoy it. Your museums show no purpose. They don't have a value to society or culture anymore. And that's why they're closing. And you're mad at me right now because I'm telling the truth. Your museums are closing. So I'm going to bring this around. So the thing I realized as the oldest young person that are into vintage cars and whatnot, when I was in vintage racing, going to the Concours world and whatnot, I looked around and I'm like, this is a boys club sandbox for older people. And they'd talk for decades and decades. I remember being at the Glenmore gathering of significant automobiles, the Black Tie Affair. Oh, it's lovely. Can you buy some more shrimp? Bartender, make mine a Belvedere vodka martini. You know, that sort of event. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and these notable figures in the car community of old are talking, well, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to get some young people involved in this, or nobody's going to care in a few years. Well, you're right. And you haven't done anything. You can't just pass out a Hot Wheels car, invite some young people or Boy Scout troop to your car show or race. It's not going to change anybody's lives. That's not going to get them interested. That's not going to get them inspired. The reason all of you older people like vintage cars in these older museums is because it meant something to your life. It's the time you grew up in. The key, though, is it meant something to your life. And you've done nothing to make young people care. And you've done nothing to make those things matter to their lives. In fact, the older generations, I'm not going to say World War II generations, because that was a special generation, but the older generation kind of in the middle, you guys really like to hoard your cars. I grew up seeing my parents' generation going to car shows. Hey guys, I got my lawn chair. I'm going to sit right here behind my car. Hey, I've got this thing decked out. I just spent the last week polishing this thing. And I'm really hoping I'm going to sit here. If somebody likes my car enough, they might come up and socialize and tell me I'm a cool person because I spent all my time on this here car that I trailered from far away and didn't even drive. And then later, after I wait here all day with my wife and kids, while I'm not paying any attention to them, I might get to win me a trophy. And if it's a really good car show, that trophy might be 5-6 foot high. And I'm going to put that in my garage for everybody to see how cool I am for having this car I don't drive. I might, if I get rich enough, I might even have a big old museum. That way everybody can come and tell me I'm cool for having a bunch of cars. That's the way young people look at it, guys. That's what we see. That's why when I'm driving my Dodge Viper, which is an American muscle car, kind of in between that and exotic cars, and I go by that kind of old car show or cruising, I don't stop. Because the culture's changed. But I will go to Cars and Coffee, and I will hang out with young kids. And I will do a video, like I just had come out yesterday, about teaching a young kid to drive stick in my car. And I don't really care if it gets some stone shifts, because it's a car and it's made to drive. There's a big difference there, guys. You didn't share it. It's literally too late for you. Young people don't care anymore about those things. They don't, but they could. And that's where I'm going to bring Genius Garage into this conversation. Because with Genius Garage, I have utilized history to teach with, to get them involved. And I don't mean on a superficial level. I don't mean, oh, well, what we're going to do is we're going to have this has-been race car driver with the name that we paid some money. We're going to go get this other pilot. Come on in. And we're going to have a magazine article that they came in. They talked to some kids, and we let them, torque the lug nuts for one day. And we're going to have an article, wow, we're real cool. Give us some money. You haven't done anything. Nothing. That does not do anything. They're like, yay, that was really neat. I got to do something. And then 5 years later, they think about it and be like, wow, I got nothing out of that. And those people just want me to think they're cool. Well, we don't. But with Genius Garage, we have historic cars. Yeah, airplanes, whatever. They're worth something. People who care donated to make this happen. I put my time in because we actually want to share it with young people's lives. But not just in a, hey, look at us. We're cool, kids. Yay. No. We want to share it with them because it has the power to teach. And individuals that have a lifetime of wisdom, Maybe that's practical experience. Maybe that's life experience. Maybe that's business. Maybe that's engineering. Can help these young people one-on-one, helping them with life. Mentorship, caring about somebody, helping them grow, helping them become better than you were or your generation was for the future. That's what Genius Garage is. I just use important historical things for them to learn to apply their engineering or design knowledge in a practical way and bring in people with a lifetime of wisdom to share that care about young people, that want to spend a lot of time with them, helping them grow. And you know what's really neat? That gets them unbelievable jobs too. Now I bring this up, and I bring it up with a little bit of an attitude because I got two stories you guys should hear. And I'd love to tell you the names and the locations, but I'm going to leave them out. I don't know, because I'm trying to be nice. So there's been a couple of car museums out there that are struggling and or at risk of closing. And someone who gets the Genius Garage vision that was connected with those people connected me with them. And the point was simple. Genius Garage is a formula that works, that connects history and makes it matter to industry and everything else. And they connected me with the organization, the museum, to effectively be able to lead it and take it over. So all these things can teach. All these things can be dynamic. I, as a young person that gets this world and culture, can bring it to young people. And I remember this one, it was in California, and it related to a very famous road racing track that doesn't exist. And it was a giant collection of Maseratis and important American racing cars. And it was a perfect place for Genius Garage to coexist and make that museum matter once again. Actually matter to the future in industry and academia. So I met with them. They loved it. It's a great idea. To be frank, they didn't have any plans to make it work, and they got their hands up in the air not knowing what's going on. And spent a lot of time with them. Total green light with contracts. And at the end of it, it was an interesting thing happened. Their board started falling apart. And suddenly the ship changed course. And I was out a lot of time and money trying to make this work, of my time and money, and they just left us high and dry. So then the museum quickly got liquidated. Real quickly got liquidated, led by some individuals. And that was pathetic. Because if this museum really was a museum and not just a wealthy guy's car collection, then it should have mattered to the public. That's the point of a museum, isn't it? So we can learn from history and artifacts and things and, move forward together in the future. It's not just a toy box. So somebody can, look at me, look at my things, I'm so cool. It's supposed to teach and inspire the future. But instead of doing something with this, that we had a clear-cut course to make the museum matter again and teach and build a community up, they liquidated everything. Interesting. And more recently, I got another bigger story, and this one's fascinating. So I got connected with another couple of museums with a gentleman that runs an event that relates to it. And that's all I'm going to say. He's a really neat guy, a little bit younger, gets the young generation, sees what's going on with the older generation, sees why car museums are just not doing anything with the future and why they don't matter and how they're falling apart and the people don't even get it. And we talked, hit it off. So he connects me with the museum's president. And that guy got it pretty well. He was okay. And the museum was in trouble. Their wealthiest donors flat out don't want to give them any money anymore. Because the donors are smart business people. They can look at the museum going, what are you guys actually doing for the future? Are you actually providing any value to our community other than just, yay, come to our community, we have a shiny thing. No, what are you doing? They're smart people. And finally just said, we're not going to donate any money to your museum again until you get a plan and are implementing it. I know that because I was there. And I met the wealthy donors. In fact, one of the wealthy donors wanted to donate a big building, potentially, to Genius Garage for doing something. And I just said, Genius Garage needs to collaborate with your museum because I can make your museum relevant again. I can attract the brightest young minds from literally around the entire world, right here, or anywhere else in the world. And we can work together. And me at Genius Garage, I can make your museum and your history relevant and matter again. I can do all the things you can't. We should team up. And the president liked it because I wasn't trying to step on their toes. We're all stronger together, teamwork, that sort of thing. And the wealthy donors were all in favor of it. Flat out said to the president of the museum, yeah, you need to not be him hawing around. You need to start working with Genius Garage right now That's the way. That's the direction. So we got on it. And everything was fine. And I was going to present to the old board of directors to this museum. It's been around for a long time. And that's great. Talking with the, the president of the museum, got a great plan for the years coming out, what we're going to do, how we're going to move, how we're going to make this bigger, how, with Genius Garage being paired up with this museum, we can actually go out after sponsors and collaborators and manufacturer support together. And I can help you bring in funding and money that no one will give to you now because you're not going anywhere. Wouldn't that be nice? So I go to present all this stuff, beautiful presentation. And by the way, I'm talking to you guys very casually, and I know this is the public, but let's just be honest. I know how to wear a suit and address a board really well, okay? I'm not just gonna sit back in a chair like this in a shop and talk like that. So did a great presentation. And before that, the president tells me that night, Casey, we're working together. This works, this is happening. So when you present, just present to the board from that vantage point. Just look, here's what we're doing. This is why it's positive collaboration. This is what we're going to do together, and this is where we're going. I'm like, that is fantastic. No problem. We got this. This is a great collaborative team. I'm very excited for the future. So I showed up to the presentation, got the PowerPoint laptop up and everything for people who can't visualize. Got everything up and did a beautiful presentation in an old historical boardroom. Now, I have presented publicly in front of a couple hundred business execs before from a podium for 45 minutes with no notes and delivered a speech that afterward I had people come up and said, I haven't heard a public presentation that good in 40 years. And I've presented obviously on the internet and you get feedback and trolls and stuff, but whatever. And I've been on theater, I've seen stage. I can read a crowd. So the people at this board table, I can read. So there's some younger people sitting there that get it. That get why Genius Garage matters, that gets why the museum's failing, and gets why together we can actually do something. And I can see them with their heads down, nodding aggressively like, oh my God, this is absolutely right. But these crusty people over here that don't know how the world works anymore aren't going to believe it. And they won't let us have a voice or do anything. And I was watching this. And then it started. The questions. That I wasn't ready for that because the president told me otherwise, that we were already working together. And of course, I'm ready for a question. I can answer it well. But I didn't know that the president's board was so not on the same page as him or anybody else. And I'll put it this way. I felt like Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook. Now, don't compare me to him because I don't think we're the same guy. But I felt like Mark Zuckerberg in front of, I think it was Congress or the government panel, when they're like, all right, Mr. Zuckerberg, can you explain to me how the internet works? And he's like, what is the Facebook? Do people pay money to be on the Facebook? It's a social interactive site where people can talk and share pictures and things. And no, they don't pay a subscription to be on it. Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, if they don't pay money to be on Facebook, how do you make money? It's a ripoff. I don't know if he said that, but they did. And Zuckerberg's like, I sell ads? Yeah. The point is, these people just didn't get it. Or, of course, they probably did get it, and they were just trying to poke holes in the guy for whatever reason. I don't even remember whether they were. Let's not go into that. But they were just trying to poke holes in it, but they sounded idiotic. And I'm listening to these people ask me questions about the concept of Genius Garage and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, they don't get it. They don't get how the world works anymore. They don't get how young people are. They don't get education. They don't get business. They just think that people should hand them money because they're cool. That's not how it works, man. Get on the net. Get the net. I'm like, is that a Wayne's World quote? How old is that? I'm only bringing that up because I was kind of like blown away. I shouldn't have been blown away, but I was. You know, these car museums and stuff, let's say they're more privately owned or whatever, they exist largely because wealthy benefactors just hand them money because they like shiny cars in history. But these shiny cars in history aren't doing anything for our young people anymore. Nothing. Go to a vintage race. It's all old people. Let me know how much diversity you see there. Go to a Concours. It's just shiny stuff. Last time I was at a Concours, I took Genius Garage students who had the best writing assignment, and as a reward, I let them exhibit an early 1930s, like, priceless classic Studebaker Commander. And the Concours is like, this is great, young people doing something, we'll report on this. They didn't do squat. They didn't tell anybody, they didn't report on it, they didn't care. Literally did the best thing anybody possibly could do to get young people to give a crap about pre-war cars that are big. Actually let them drive the car, act like they own it, have fun with it, work on it, dress up like it's 1932 and showed it. And these young people loved it. And all these older people that ran the Concours couldn't care less. And to make matters even funnier, later, they had somebody who's a has-been race car driver that's getting paid to be like, you know, one of those spokespeople about like charities. How do we get young people to care? Yay! Well, how you do it is pay me, a has-been race car driver, to drive through and get all the publicity, even though I'm not doing anything for kids at all right now. There's no kids here at all. But Genius Garage was there, making young people care. And no one noticed because nobody from that old guard cared and got it. So, to answer the question and the prediction, more car museums will close. You are darn right they're going to close. Because your wealthy donors are going to stop giving you money because you're not really doing anything for the future. And none of you wanted to share these things with younger people. You just wanted your pretty things to look at. Because they're so awesome, they should be worth lots of money and hoarded. Young people don't need that. We've got our own things. We're going to make our own future. Millennials, they're an amazing generation, if not for one reason. They want to work together. They want to collaborate. They want to share to help better their friends and their future and their country. So if you find your car museum failing and you don't get millennials, maybe you should think about sharing or doing something that matters. And it better not be superficial, because then I'll just report on how much BS it is. Car museums could matter. They could. But people just don't know how to do it anymore. I know how to do it. I'm sitting in a place with old things that matter for young people, that matter for the future, that matter for the nation, that matter for industry, that are a complement to education. And that's why I created this. And that's why someday I'd see Genius Garage having a museum component, where all these wonderful things that young people build and restore to better their futures and grow and learn from are also on display to, you know, inspire the public. That's what I'm going to do. So anyway, I was hot about that. Dear Hemmings, dear old people, your car collections and your museums are failing, and you know that. So call me. I know how to fix it. In the meantime, guys, I hope you will like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.